Einstein's idea, his example was this. Einstein's example was, if I'm on Earth, imagine I could use a telescope and see people on Jupiter. Okay? Imagine there's people on Jupiter, which is a massive planet. It's a much heavier gravitational pull than Earth's is, because it's a much bigger planet. If I could see people on Jupiter playing a game of tennis, I'm watching it from Earth. So the way it would look to me, the people on Jupiter playing tennis, is like this. And it would take 5 minutes just for me to swing my racket. It would take another 8 minutes for the whole ball to get across the net. If you're the one on Jupiter playing the game, it's a normal game of tennis, because you're relative to your own time frame. But looking at it from Earth, where the time flows differently over there, it looks much slower. 6 sets of tennis would take 12 years. They're not playing for 12 years on their time, it's just regular time. If I was on Earth looking at people on Mercury playing a game of tennis, okay, it's pretty hot over there, can't play tennis too well, but let's say theoretically, people on Mercury is a very small planet, much less gravitational pull. The whole game of tennis goes by in 5 minutes. 6 sets of tennis in 5 minutes. It goes by so fast you can't even see the ball flying. Again, if you're the one on Mercury playing, it feels and looks like a normal game of tennis. But from an Earth perspective, time there goes much faster, time there goes much slower. The actual rate and flow of time changes. It's been proven. It's a theory that Einstein came up with. It's been proven scientifically to be true. We don't even call it anymore a theory. We call it the law of relativity. We all know it to be the case. So Dr. Schroeder says, okay, when we say the world is 14.8 billion years old, what do we mean? From an Earth-based perspective, that's how old the universe is. When we on Earth look at how quickly the planets are receding away from each other, the Earth-based calculation we make is that the world is 14.8 billion years old. But if I was on Jupiter measuring the age of the universe, I might conclude the world is only a few million years old. If I was on Mercury measuring the age of the universe, where time flows completely different there, I might conclude the world is 50 trillion years old, or 50 quadrillion years old. I mean, the number 14 billion is a very relative number. That's why it's called theory of relativity. It's a very relative number to who's observing it. So Dr. Schroeder says this. He says, once Adam appears on Earth, it makes sense that the Torah is going to describe time from an Earth-based perspective. But before that, in these 5.5 days, when God's creating the universe, there's no man, there's no people, there's no human observer. Until man gets created at the end of 5.5 days, Earth is no more special of a place to measure time from than any other planet or any other galaxy. It's just another arbitrary place to measure time, and time will change depending on who's measuring it. So he says, what would happen if we tried to calculate these 14.8 billion years, not from an Earth perspective, but from a universal perspective? Let's say you could be God, standing outside of the universe and looking at the whole universe. From the moment of the Big Bang, it explodes, it expands, time slows down. It expands more, time slows down even more. If you had to factor in how time flows in the whole universe until day 6, until 5.5 days when Adam gets created, how much time would actually pass? So he says it's a very simple calculation. It's 14,800,000,000 years. Okay? Any physics journal will tell you that if you look at the initial conditions of the universe when it first exploded, you can actually measure how much gravitational energy was there. And by knowing how much gravitational energy is there, you can calculate what the factor is that you have to divide this by to know the actual flow of time in the universe. It turns out, according to most journals, you'd have to divide this number, right? This is 14.8 billion years. You'd have to divide this by a factor of 1 trillion. Okay? Divided by a factor of 1 trillion is what takes it out of being Earth-based time to universal time. When you make this calculation, you end up getting 14.8 divided by 1,000. Sorry, I'm going to move down here, which is 0.00148 years. The actual age of the universe, not from an Earth perspective, but from a universe perspective, is 0.00148 years. If you want to know how many days that comes out to, you multiply by 365 days. Calculation comes out to be approximately 5.5 days. Exactly the same, 5.3 days. Now, NASA hasn't got it straight yet. They'll figure it out one day. It's close to 5.3, 5.25, something like that. It's almost exactly the same 5.5 days that we talk about here. So this is not us trying to apologize and say the Torah really is saying what science said. It's saying that never mind science is catching up with Torah. Torah's been saying the same answer all along. We just didn't know how to calculate it. We needed modern science to tell us how to make the calculations. But when the Torah says 6 days and then the rest of the years, it's exactly what science has come to discover.
Is there anything in Torah that implies or hints at this change in perspective? I mean, I understand what you're saying. Until man was created, there's no logical reason why we're going through. But like, is there anything that...
It's just logic. Meaning, it's God. You have to realize, those first 6 days until Adam's around, it's God describing creation, right? He's the one writing it. He's the one, I made this, I made that, this will be good, this will be good. Then I parted the heavens, then I made the fish, it's all God talking. Once you have day 6 that Adam is around, now we shift into understanding of very human, right? The whole rest of Torah, after those first 28 verses, is just humans. Adam did this, Eve did this, Cain and Abel did this. Everybody you will find who's really qualified in both fields, they're the ones who are saying there's no contradictions. The only people who find contradictions are the ones who don't understand one side of the equation. Once you understand both sides, there's no doubts, there's no problems. It actually all makes a lot of sense. Okay? Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm around if you have any other questions. I'm happy to.
Isn't it true that some rabbis actually say that scientists finding out that what was written in the Gemara 2000